Hello everyone, this is Gabi. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I use the quick displacement operator in the random flow add-on. So somebody inquired how I use this operator to create those rock formations that I post on Instagram and Twitter, or X. So I'm going to show you just that. But first, we're going to model the face mesh. Let's say going to be like a rock formation. There's going to build a structure here. So let's start with this really basic base mesh. Okay, now select everything. But first I'm going to save this using or this mesh data using the uh, saved mesh data save feature in random flow. So save this. So I can always get it back if I miss everything. So now let's start using quick displacement. And here in this video, we're just going to use the all faces mode and leave selection alone. So we have the type here, you have clouds and image. Image uses texture. With image, you can import the images using the load images operator here, and then you can use it for the quick displacement using the image type here. So that is what the load images operator is for. And for this exercise, we're going to use just clouds. And if you use clouds, sorry about that, use clouds, you can choose between all the noise bases. And we have, of course, coordinates, object, and UV. If you have UV, your object, you can use that. So my advice is to UV it first, because if you try to UV the displaced object or result, it's going to take a long time because of the high resolution. This operator is destructive. It doesn't use modifiers, so just be aware of that. And here we have the strength or the strength of the displacement based on the texture that we are using, the mid-level, and the size of the texture used in the displacement, and the depth. Basically, um, just a bit more detail with the texture, and brightness, contrast, smooth, and we have the repeat of the smooth. So the smooth factor right here, and then we have the repeat of that smooth factor. So that is the texture control right above here. And then we have a transformation for the texture here, the location, the rotation, and the scale. So this controls the transformation of the texture. And then the subdivision, this now affects the source mesh. So if we subdivide this or increase it, you can see the subdivision affecting the source mesh. And we have smooth, fractal, and normal, and noise scene. So the smooth, fractal, normal, and properties they are all connected to the subdivision property. The smoothing kind of puffs up the mesh. We have the fractal, if you want to use it to really reduce some random noise. And when you use fractal, you can use the noise scene to actually play around with the randomization of that fractal effect. Okay, and then we have the subsurf level. So the subsurf level is different from the subdivision. Subdivision actually increases the resolution of the source mesh destructively, while the subsurf level property adds some sort of modifier after the mesh is subdivided destructively. So when I increase this to 1, for example, and go over to the modifier stack, you can see the subdivision modifier added there. Okay. Now, let's just get this back to 0. And here, the transformations below the redo panel refers to or controls the transformation of the source mesh, not the texture. So this controls the transformation of our active selected object, and we can, of course, randomize that. And we have object rotation as well here. We have object scale. So there's no location transformation, only scale and rotation. Just store it. Okay. So like I said, the this part here controls the transformation of the texture. This is the location. This is the rotation of the texture, scale of the texture. You can squeeze it or pull it towards a certain axis. So, like for example, on the Z axis, like this, you can create a lot of effects using this. And of course, doing that, you can also change your noise basis to create effects like one. So let's start fresh, and we're going to create the um, wrap formation that I posted on Instagram and X. That is titled the hub, the one with the station and also the ship and also the really tall rock structure. Going to create that. So how I use this is in stages. First, I apply the effects on like probably 2 or 3 levels. First one is the big shape. Second one is the either the second shape. If I want to go to the third level, which is the uh, smaller details. But usually I just use 2 levels. First are the big shapes, and then second that the second could be like straight to tertiary, and then just use textures to provide the detail. Okay, so let's start with the first level. So if you use the preset, this means smooth 50 and subdivision of 5. It's using smooth repeat of 50 iteration, and subdivision cuts of 5, but okay, set it to 1. Only smooth 5. So let's just manually increase this 5 or 10, and then decrease the smoothing something like 30. Okay, that kind of destroyed our basic shape, but that's okay. We're actually aiming for this, but watch out for this because of the way the texture is displacing the mesh. It can create this uh, pitch areas. We're going to fix that and use mid-level or in the brightness of contrast to basically buff up those areas. But of course, if you fix that area, the other areas will be affected as well. So just aware of that. So when we fix this area by puffing it up, and so it also puffed up the rest of the. That's okay, but that's okay. And here, so this can be our basic shape or our primary shape, and we're just going to play around with the settings some more before moving in or moving on. Okay. So our primary shape, and you can still pull and push stuff using either sculpting or the Alt S method or the flatten and what's the command? The shrink and flatten command, which is the Alt S hat key. And you can also use the O hat key to turn on proportional editing. And when you press or use the Alt S hat key and do this, just be careful because you can also pinch. You can use that, or you can just grab. So you can still play around with the shape even after the randomization process, as you see me doing in the short video or time lapse video. That and also this area here. Then we can proceed on to the second level or layer and using quick displacement again. Okay, so the cuts reverted back to zero to avoid using it on a high resolution mesh. Okay, now going to use a smaller size and then also reduce the strength and also reduce the smoothing. So we keep the shape of the uh, first level detail, then we're adding in the secondary detail for shapes. And most of these are just surface detail because we already have the first detail, which is, of course, the bigger shapes. if that makes sense. Okay, so to increase the fidelity of the detail, just increase the subdivision and play around with the noise basis so we can reduce the strength. Now we can see the effect of the or the true appearance of the noise basis texture. You can, of course, can preview the wire or the resolution using Shift Z, I think. And this is the wireframe view. We press save for that. And this operation or action does not register as an undo action. So you can still keep the, or you can still recall the quick displacement redo panel versus when you, of course, move this, and moving is registered as an undo action. So if you try to use F9, it has replaced um, the redo panel of the quick displacement. The quick displacement redo panel is now gone, and its action has been confirmed. Okay, so, but just viewing the wire doesn't overlap the redo panel or the last action redo panel. So you can still recall this anytime you want. You can view the wire, play around with the cuts to see what real resolution you're in, and then go back to solid view. So I think we can still go towards, let's just, for this second level, let's just use uh, two subdivision and then confirm the action. Okay. Now we're going to use the operation again. So this time, so by this time, we are at the third level of detail. And we're going to use smaller and smaller texture scale. And just be careful with the subdivision because the mesh is of course increasingly being subdivided, and the size 0.05, strength is 0.05. Increasing the cut, you have the subsurf. So right now, the because of the mesh is somewhat high res, um, you might want to avoid using the sliding action to change the values here because as you can see right now it's pretty slow. So when you get to this point, you can just manually type the number instead of just dragging the property value with the mouse. 0.02 for the size, and then the strength we can probably go to 0.08. Okay, now play around with the noise basis again. To play the original and set the strength to something like 0.02, 0.04, have all this detail. And then probably at this point, This is finished. But with practice, you can probably something better than this. So I'm just really speeding this up for the sake of the video. So okay, let's cheat smooth this, and then I'm going to set you up with a basic shader without textures. So you can add your texture later. So I'm going to set this up. I'll set you up with a basic procedural shader for this. Um, so we're going to use object mapping. Not use UV because I forgot to UV this when it was still low res. Do not try to UV this. You can go in and get the UV map going, but it'll probably be really slow and will crash Blender. So we try to do that. Instead, you can just duplicate this, decimate it, and then use it to bake this detail from here. Okay. And this will be your bake to object. This is the bake from object. This will be the low poly and use the details from here. And then because your lower resolution object is going to be faster to UV and also safer. I'm gonna try to UV this result in Crush Blender. Okay, so uh, the uh, the procedural sheet. Okay, I'm just going to turn on HDRI. I probably can't talk while the viewport is rendering because my noise reduction um, app, I'm using NVIDIA Broadcast for noise reduction, so it's tied to the GPU. And if I try to render the viewport, it's going to. So I'm using GPU to in Blender to render stuff. So I'll try and avoid talking while the viewport is rendering. Only talk when it's not rendering. Okay, let's go to shader and press new. And we're going to try and activate Node Wrangler as well in the add-ons. It comes bundled in Blender. It's free. So you just have to, but it's not toggled on by default. You have to do that yourself. So this makes your life easier when it comes to shader nodes. Okay, let's add in geometry. We're going to add or input. We're going to add geometry. That and then use the pointiness output and put it into base color. So pointiness basically creates like a cavity map, and it only works on high resolution objects. It works better on high resolution objects, and it doesn't work too well on low poly. Okay, so to control the factor, we're going to use color ramp. So I'm going to view the effect of this setup here using the node wrangler. So you can just click on this node. I'm going to click on this node. So from this node and all the nodes connected to it, uh, um, going back will be viewed. Um, we are going to preview that. So Control Shift click. Okay. So now going to add AO. mix, and then ambient occlusion. Use the AO output to P, multiply. Then we're going to control its factor using the color as well. So we can view this using Control Shift click. Okay, let's play around with the colors. Okay, for this shader, let me show you something. If I put a UV sphere here, so this is about AO. You can see that the AO is considering the icosphere in this position. So to avoid the ambient occlusion, considering or registering the icosphere, the sphere mesh, we're going to use only local. So so the AO will only affect the geometry within the or in uh, the active object. Okay, we can also play around with the roughness and metallicity, and then control this with a color ramp. And then for the roughness, invert this for the roughness. So if we have like um, white for metallic, white, pure white, meaning one. So if there's like a pure white for metallic, inverse of that is gonna be pure black is zero for roughness, and any gradation in the middle of that. Okay, at this stage sorry about that. At this stage, we are going to use this setup to add a texture image for the uh, tertiary detail. Okay, going to tie this knot and put the texture here, or wait a minute. Add this, multiply this effect to the texture. put this at the B on the B input. Going to use Control T. Give me this. So this is a node wrangler feature. Control T and UV. No, don't use UV object. And I'm going to uh, import the texture. So you can see the import window because OBS cannot cover that. And if you're using object, do not use the um, flat projection, use the box projection. For UV, use the flat projection. For object, use the box projection. Okay. And then I'm going to wait. Actually, um, remove this and this, this. Well, okay. I'm going to use Control Shift T, and this will add a bunch of textures. So you can actually get these textures in polyhaven.com, and what it does is the Control Shift T hotkey from Node Wrangler um, sets those images like diffuse, roughness for the normals, of course, also the displacement sets them automatically for you. So you don't have to set each image to their appropriate uh, input node. Control Shift T, I'm going to use the shell floor texture. So yeah, principled setup, texture setup. There we go. Then we can multiply effect here in the um, diffuse or the base color. And we're going to replace this with object and replace each texture with box because we're not using, because I forgot to UV the object before this displacing. Box, box, box. The displacement is causing a lag, so I decided to just remove it. Let's try to connect the displacement, but not use the normal map. Okay, so there you go. There you have your uh, rock formation. It's a little bit slow because of the displacement, but without the displacement, doesn't look too convincing. So what you have to do to make this lighter is, of course, duplicate this and use the decimate modifier. Uh, Turn off the or remove the. Actually, maybe because of the subdivision, try and that, and then use the. Okay, it's much faster now. It's because of the subdivision. Maybe because of the yeah, it's taking the added resolution or extra resolution into account and then displacing that. So that's because that's what's happening. Um, the viewport slowing down. So remove the subsurb modifier. But again, you make this low poly. You're new to Blender. You do this decimate, and depending on the topology, it might take a long. So let's use decimate and look at the shape. If it's being look at the overall profile shape of the model is if it's being kept. So let's try 5 from 352,000 point two 320K bases down to 130. The structural structure still looks good, and try point point zero 0.05 from 130,000 to 34,000. And this is the topology. So I'm going into wireframe to check the topology because the decimate modifier is not yet applied. And if I enter edit mode, I will see this. And if you exit edit mode, go to object mode, the decimate modifier will have to refresh and work again. So there's going to be a bit of slowdown. Just watch out for that. So, but to make it faster, you can just view the effect of this using the, again, wireframe. Or Shift say. Now we can go down to 0.02 and let's see if the structures is still maintained. We are now at 14K. Basic. So I think this is it's set to let's apply this Control A in this fire, or you can use this button here, or you can hover over the modifier window area and then press Control A. That will apply the modifier. Let's wait. Okay. Now we can go to edit mode safely. And yeah, now we can bake it. But I'm not going to, uh, maybe I can, but probably on another video. But I'm just going to save this. Okay. So once you do that, you can set the cursor right back here, cursor selected, and then selection to cursor. I just like to use this a lot with the keep offset instead of this. And ready for baking. So the only problem with the baking in Blender is good, but the only problem is it can't bake displacement. So you're stuck with normals and AOs. Still pretty good. I think you can use AO as I don't know. Oh wait. Uh, you can I think a pseudo displacement by using the pointiness node and then plugging it to an image shader, then plugging it to the material output. So in the bake, you will third. So in the bake output, the blender will bake the emission or output of the pointillism node, creating some sort of displacement like that. But you have to, of course, play around with the colorant to get the effect. Okay, so just gonna hide this for future use if I do decide to show you guys how to bake it using Blender, vanilla Blender. This is your rock formation, and like so at in the video I rendered it like this, and with the hub structure here, with the ship here, and then just play around with the HDRI lighting. So I added with that scene, I just used HDRI for the ambient, and then I added in just a single sun lamp to create a harsh rim light on the rock formation. think that looks good. And yeah, that's your. Let's try and look at this. I want to see something. Did it post? Yeah. So there you go. There's the uh. I think the video took longer because I'm doing stuff. That's how basically you can. That's how you basically can do this stuff using the quick. Probably in the next video, I'll show you how to use the. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to use the image type. Create crazy ass buildings. Uh, so that's basically how I did it. So in layers or in levels of detail. So first level, second level, and if you plan it, you can. If you plan the details, you can go like something like 5 levels. But just be careful with the subdivision, of course. But you can actually uh, play around with the noise basis or the image texture in each level, creating more and more effects. So, like for example, I saw a video on a cake where they use displacement to create a cake, and it involves a lot of layers. But they just used the noise texture to do that. But yeah, basically the same thing, using different levels of displacement. First detail is the basic shape, the big shapes, and second detail, third secondary shapes, the smaller detail until you get to the last level. Yeah. So I think this is it for this video. If you have any questions, use the comment section below or the links in the description. If you are contacting me through Blender Market by the email, I can still do that, but I think it's better on Discord because there are other people there. So when you email me, for example, when you email me, uh, based on where you are, I may be sleeping or going out to walk the dog or something like that. So with Discord, there are other people there that will answer your question that also has experience with the add-on. If I am AFK or away from keyboard, they can entertain you. With the email, you have to wait for me to come back or check my phone or check or turn on my computer to check the email. But with the Discord, um, there's always a chance that somebody can help you. Okay, so the Discord link is in the directory of the add-on in the docs folder. You can in the text file you can find the link, invite link there, and then you can join the Discord channel where you can report bugs, ask questions, share your models that you created with random flow or other things. You can also ask other questions even if it's not uh, other 3D questions, 3D stuff questions or art questions, other than random flow or the other add-ons I make. And you can also ask questions about other add-ons. Okay, so yeah, say it's generally quiet right now, but when you ask questions, some most of the time people will answer. Okay, so yeah, so join up there, and I think it's better than just using the Blender Market email. Okay, so again, this is it for this video. If you have any questions, just the comment section below. The links in the description. Subscribe and hit notify. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.